When I was a kid, I had a weird relationship with the road on which we lived. There was always this strange sense of dread about it. Something about that road made me feel uneasy. It's because I was told that years earlier, a young boy who was trying to cross the street to go and buy some milk was run over and killed. But later, I found out that wasn't the truth. There'd been no road accident, no milk. This boy, when I did eventually see a picture of him, he looked familiar. Light brown skin, thick, shiny hair, and this enormous, contagious smile. What did happen back then was much scarier than what I'd been told, and a lot more horrific. Maybe the worst thing you could ever imagine. I started searching for news articles, doing my own research, and asking questions. But these just led to more questions, and more questions.
How had you prepared yourself for this sort of news?
Who are they trying to fool? Am I an idiot?
Nobody knew I went. Nobody.
There's a lot more to it than the story I was told.
Cases can be solved decades later. This case can be solved decades later.
I don't see that finance should come into it. It's a question of duty.
It's time to just tell the truth now, Jim.
No, it's not. I don't really.
Yeah, no, really. It's time to tell the truth.
It's something that would come to define me and the people around me for years to come.
It's not over. It's only a matter of time.
And now, I want answers. I'm Suchin Mehrotra. From BBC Studios, this is Vishal. The true story of a boy who went missing while the world was looking the other way. What happened to him? What happened to his family? And where is the person who did this? Wednesday, the 29th of July, 1981 is one of those days in history when everyone seems to remember where they were. The eyes of the world were on London. Chapter 1, The Royal Wedding. That's the Charles and Diana Royal Wedding.
Once upon a time, there was a prince who lived in a palace. He fell in love with a fair young maiden and he asked her to marry him. A summer's day, with the Queen and all the royal family, they drove in carriages through crowded streets.
Once upon a time, there was a small family from India living in West London. A dad and his 2 kids, a boy called Vishal and a girl called Mamta. They travelled into the city centre that day to be part of those crowds and hopefully catch a glimpse of the fairy tale princess herself.
Once upon a time is the 29th of July, 1981.
She was the most beautiful, the princess story. She was Cinderella, she was Sleeping Beauty, she was everything.
And what you will see now is no fairy story, but the story of 2 very real young people in front of the eyes and ears of the world, sharing their day of happiness with us all.
It was like the most exciting thing. We had heard about this royal wedding months. We all wanted, it's exciting.
This is Mamta. Back then, she was a very excited 7-year-old. She'd lived in England for 2 years and was obsessed with all things royal.
We all had to dress up. We went to Dad's office, look decent. I had to dress on. Dad was pretty particular about these kinds of things. The little doll in her dress was... Anyway.
It was a very hot, sunny day. Very, very hot, sunny day.
And this is Vishambar. Everyone knows him as Vishu. He's Mamta and Vishal's dad. He was a young lawyer at the time, handsome, well-dressed, and keen to make a good impression at work.
I was working on Fleet Street as a solicitor. I was, and that is why we went to the party on the royal wedding day, because my office was on the second floor, literally overlooking Fleet Street. So the children, we had the best view.
You know, when a parent and a child go into a very crowded place, you see that concern on the parent's face. Okay, hold hands, make sure you follow me closely, don't get lost, be careful, stick to me. That was the kind of energy my father had. Like, stay close until we get there. And once we were there, it was party. We were having fun. Nobody was going to go anywhere anyway. So I think he just relaxed once we got there. But until we got there, he was on a bit of, and then we were there.
Vishu's law office is on a prime location with a view straight down onto the wedding procession, and the company decides to celebrate.
We had a party. I mean, everybody came. The partners came, and their families were there, the kids were there, their kids were there. So it was an office party starting around 11:30 in the morning. We had brought hampers to the office.
Vishu is a single dad. His marriage broke down 2 years before, and his wife is living back in India. He's bringing up the 2 kids in London with the help of a nanny called Vanita, who's also at the party. As for Mamta, she's glued to the window waiting for the princess, having the best time, so excited. Meanwhile, her 8-year-old brother, Vishal, he couldn't care less about the princess. He's far more interested in the fun happening inside the office. Vishal is super bright, chatty and independent, watching what the grown-ups are doing and racing around the desks with the other kids.
Vishal and Mamta realized that it was something important, and there was a carriage. Obviously, Prince Charles and Diana, they were aware of what was going on. But kids are kids; they're in their own fun-loving, and there were other kids also there. There were kids playing and moving around, and I don't remember whether the elders had some beer or something, but I cannot remember that.
Everybody was plastered, at least the adults were. I mean, everybody. I think the whole of Britain was plastered that day. So I do not blame my father for having been plastered. Let's be clear about that. We were all having fun. There were other kids there. There were snacks. It was great fun. With all the kids and stuff, I don't think the parents would have wanted us to go down in the main crowd. That's why we had our own kind of vantage point, which was safe for all of us, right? It was the office, my dad's office.
If a child went missing during my deployment at the royal wedding, if anything cropped up like that, we would go to our sergeant to say, hey, this child's missing, what do we do? And they had radio. The sergeants had radio, so they can then, report that to a central command. My name is Sean Keep. My first ever deployment as a police officer was on the 29th of July, 1981, the day of the royal wedding of Prince Charles and Lady Diana Spencer.
Rookie Officer Sean was one of thousands of police watching the streets of central London that day.
I was a little nervous, but no more than that, because I was with my colleagues and we had our training sergeant who was with us, and basically our instructions were to do everything that they said.
It is escorted by mounted police, Metropolitan Police.
I particularly remember being told we must face the crowd. Instead of turning our backs to the crowd and enjoying the event, we're not there to enjoy it. We meant to put our backs to the procession and actually look at the crowd so that we can spot anybody acting suspiciously or aggressively or dangerously.
And then we started when are they coming? They're like, never coming. Why is it taking them so long?
Isn't that a wonderful sight? The next time we see that coach, we'll be peering inside these windows to see if we can get some idea of what the wedding dress that we've all been waiting to see really looks like.
This was a huge operation, 5,000 cops deployed that day. Don't forget, in the June of that year, at the Trooping of the Colour, the Queen was shot at by someone with a starting pistol or a air gun or something. So they were very conscious, I think, that we really needed to flood the area with police. You've got the ceremonial cops. We were just stood there in our ceremonial dress to keep an eye on the crowd. But there would have been cops kept in reserve in case something happened to be called on, helicopters circulating above. There would have been snipers on the roof. There would be surveillance teams. There would be special branch mingling with the crowds to spot anything suspicious.
No one stages these big events quite like the Brits. The pomp, the posturing, the pageantry, the sense of occasion. But this particular wedding has so much riding on it. Away from the crowns and the gold carriages, the country is in turmoil. Millions are unemployed. There's conflict in Ireland, terrorism in Britain. Riots have set cities alight. Just the day before, there'd been another huge uprising in Toxteth in Liverpool in response to years of deprivation and racially biased policing. People are angry. So right now, while the whole world is watching, nothing can be allowed to go wrong.
The bells ringing across the rooftops of the City of London. Cheers and more cheers. Hooters and horns, rattles and
I could see the procession coming from St. Paul's down Fleet Street. I was taking pictures all the time. And they were coming slowly.
Fleet Street, the street of ink, the newspaper street. And it's packed with people on balconies, bunting hanging from every building. Every vantage point.
The royal wedding has been whipped up from a national to a global frenzy. BBC TV cameras are beaming every moment of it around the world, to Britain's former colonies and beyond. But Vishal, Mamta and their dad are enjoying being on the very front row of history, high above the crowds.
When the procession was actually passing, they were all cheering and laughing and waving flags. I think I cannot remember any coloured person in the crowd. There may have been, I'm not saying that, but they were all mainly white. Even all the police were white. We obviously were not white. We were watching from my office in the second floor. They passed us. It was around 12:45 or something. They passed us.
Everybody was cheering, and then when she finally came in the carriage and passed by us, all you could see was the top of the bloody carriage. You saw the horses, and then you saw the black top of this carriage, and that was it. And it was like, hello, we waited months for this.
Driving from Fleet Street to the Strand and past the Law Courts.
When the procession had gone and everybody had eaten and had their cokes or whatever it is that we were having, suddenly the energy zapped and everybody, at least me, said, oh, now let's go.
It's now 12:54 p.m. As Vishu, Vishal and Mamta say their goodbyes at the party, the newly married prince, princess and the entire wedding frenzy moves across central London to Buckingham Palace. New Officer Sean Keep is there to help maintain order.
There were tens of thousands of people there.
There's Buckingham Palace in sight at the end of the Mall.
And then we found ourselves right up, almost pressed up against the gates of Buckingham Palace. The royals then came out onto the balcony, and the couple came out, waved and kissed and all the rest of it. And obviously the crowds were shouting.
Ah, that's what everybody's been waiting for.
I was 19. I've never seen the royals before. This was all absolutely fantastically new to me. It was an occasion. So, yeah, of course I looked. And obviously you could hear them coming. You could hear the horses, etc. So I did look. It was too tempting not to.
It's been a wonderful sight to see the way the police have controlled in such a friendly, smiling way this great tide of human beings.
Obviously I was conscious that I had to keep an eye on the crowd as well. But actually I knew pretty early doors that there wasn't anybody that I thought was looking suspicious.
I wanted to rush home because it was obvious that the station was going to get cramped with people. There were lots of people. So we rushed to the Temple station.
1:09 p.m. The tube train carrying Vishu, Vanita, Vishal and Mamta sets off from Temple along the River Thames, heading southwest, through Westminster, right underneath Big Ben. A mile away from there, a street party is in full swing in the patch of another police officer, Detective Sergeant Jackie Moulton.
On the royal wedding day, I was at a street party in Kennington. That was an invitation from the community when I was working at Kennington Police Station. And it was a really lovely day. They had bunting, they had kids, they had fancy hats, Union Jacks everywhere. And it was a proper London street party. You're only over the bridge, really, to the activities of Buckingham Palace. And this community were just loving it. It was buzzing, fairy tale romance that we all want to believe in. A prince and a princess, carriages, horses, the Queen, all of that. And the commoners were enjoying it as much as everybody else. It was lovely. It was really, really lovely.
As the family's tube train leaves the high-spirited crowds behind and makes its way to the suburbs, the rest of London suddenly seems eerie.
When we were coming back, it was dead. It was like nobody. I had never seen the tube that empty. I had never seen London that empty. The roads, the train, it was like silence. The whole city, London, was pin drop silence. It was like a ghost town. Everybody was at home watching TV, watching the royal wedding.
That's what got me in all of this, in as much as the whole nation is having a wonderful time, and yet this poor boy, literally at the same time, because I think he was last seen, I think, about 1:45 that afternoon. That's pretty much the time when everybody is just leaving Buckingham Palace in good spirits, having a wonderful time, and it's just that contradiction of emotions. It's so sad.
The poor boy Sean mentions there is Vishal. At this exact moment, he's with his dad and Mamta and the children's nanny, Vanita, all travelling home together on the District Line train. In recent months, tube journeys have become a flashpoint for the family. Vishal, at the grand old age of 8, argues that he should be allowed to travel to school by himself. They sometimes compromise and allow him to stand alone in one carriage, while the nanny and little Mamta watch him like a hawk through the window of the next carriage. But today has been too hot and tiring for all that, and the four of them step off the train together into the fresh air of leafy East Putney Station, heading home.
The following day, I had tickets to go to Jersey with the kids for a holiday. And Vishal had a cough. Nothing serious. We were tired, really tired. But because next day we were traveling, I wanted to just make sure that I was having this cough syrup for the kids. So I said, Mamta and Vishal, and Hunita, go and get some cough medicine to be on the safe side. And then the kids, I think they wanted 10p or something, and I gave them. They wanted to buy something sweet. I said, yeah.
And Dad went straight from the station home and went to bed, where we went for that bloody cough syrup.
Now what has happened is that I've walked home. I'm of the opinion that they are all three together. I reach home, I'm so tired. I literally go to bed and I must have fallen asleep in 5 minutes.
1:28 p.m.
We were tired. We were exhausted. He was tired, Vishal, and he just said, I'm going home. And the nanny who was taking care of us said no. And of course, he fought for it. And I said, if he's going, I want to go with him. I'm tired. I don't want cough syrup. Just let me go home. She said, okay, Vishal can go home, but you need to stay with me because you're too little or whatever. Vishal left, and I was like, I'm coming with you. I want to come with you. Why can't I come with you? And he kept saying, no, just stay with her. You're too young, and she's not going to let me go if you insist on coming with me and all of this. So you stay with her and come in like 15 minutes. I need to go home. I'm like too tired. And I said, no, take me with you. And he said, no. And he just turned around and walked away. And I wish I had gone with him. I wish I had gone instead of him. Oh.
Janita said, she explained that Vishal suddenly decided, he didn't even go into the shop. He said, I'm going home. So she saw him cross the road, turn towards the station, which is the way home, and then she went into the shop. He has often traveled on his own on that particular road. He's walked that many times. The area, East Putney Station, and all that area right up to Homebush Road was completely quiet and dead.
It was like walking through a ghost town. Everybody was at home watching TV, watching the royal wedding.
There was virtually nobody on the streets. When I reached home, it was around 1:30, 1:45, and I saw them setting up, because the street party, I think, was starting at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. There's a triangular park between Rusholme Road and Homebush Road. There's a little corner there, was a patch of green, and that's where the street party was. So when we couldn't find Vishal, we all assumed that he must be at the street party with his friends. So I said, Junita, I said, go and find out. Then I went personally to find out, and that's when things started going. Then we thought that maybe he has gone for a drive with one of his friends. You want to make every excuse that you can. We were panicking, but there was never the idea in our mind that he has been kidnapped.
6:36 p.m.
So maybe he went off to the friend's house. So Dad started like calling the friends' houses. Is Vishal there? Is Vishal there? Is Vishal there? I think by 7:38, when it started getting dark, and we knew that Vishal he knew he had to be home. My father was strict. He wasn't an easy person. He was really strict. I think he called the police around 7:38, when he had just called all our friends and Vishal wasn't anywhere.
Jackie Moulton was a detective sergeant at the time.
You can never gauge how people react to a child going missing. People can be absolutely frantic. They can't think. They're pacing the room. They're screaming. They're shouting. They're crying. They're projecting. Some people are more measured. People vary, and their energy has to be released from them.
By this time, I was a bit frightened, scared, and upset. I did ring up the police at that time. They didn't come immediately.
I was sent to bed at 8 or 8:30. And I think the police actually came to the house at night. So they got the story from Dad. And I don't think they did anything that night. They did something in the next morning. I don't know what happened that night. There were like 2 officers or 3 officers that came home. It was like a normal police car coming to somebody's house to check. And, Dad gave them a story. Yes, they could have walked around a bit to see where he was.
Sean Keep was also part of the Metropolitan Police.
A child going missing of that age probably would have been brought to the attention of the local duty officer, and I would have expected a uniform inspector, and certainly a sergeant, to be appointed within the first 4 hours of the police becoming aware that there's a child missing, because when a child goes missing, you usually let the family say, well, okay, we'll check Auntie's Jane, we check all the family, we check whether he hasn't gone anywhere else, and that might take a couple of hours before you're definitely certain that this child has gone missing.
As a child, you kind of don't even understand what the police are doing at your house. Why all these people at my house? Because it didn't even dawn on me that my father had called the police. And, the severity of the situation was not put across to me. And I was asked to stay in my room quite a lot because they didn't want me to overhear conversations. And for me, Vishal and I were only almost just 11 or 12 months apart. We were very, very close in age. So we were very, very close in a lot of things. I was just happy that I had my own room and I didn't have to share my room with the smelly boy anymore. And I had never had a room to myself in my whole life. And it was great to think that the room was mine. But when it actually became mine and the lights went out, it wasn't there. It was empty. It was dark and empty and scary and hard. I remember the pin drop silence of sleeping in the room without him there. I had never slept a night without him in my whole life. Since the day I was born, I think. We'd been together every day. We had never been apart. My parents weren't there, but Vishal, he was always there.
All this took place more than 40 years ago. What happened to Vishal on the afternoon of the royal wedding when he decided to take that short walk home alone from this very spot in Putney in West London? We still don't know. And that's what we're desperately trying to find out. It's a story that's consumed me. Because, actually, it's my story too. Next time.
You'd never want to believe the worst. Never.
A boy's gone missing, so the first thing that you can do is the physical search.
Where could this child be? We'll go and search it.
I remember being asked about whether Vishal had any money.
The police detective superintendent gave me the 3rd degree in my own house, saying, you know more than you're telling me.
Vishal is a BBC Studios podcast. It's presented by me, Suchin Mehrotra. The series was written and produced by Satyesh Manohar Raja. Audio production, sound design and original music by Steve Urquhart. The executive producer is Alistair Jackson.